Get real, child. Let's get real.
It's time to get real about what's happening in the soil we walk on, in the air we breathe, and on the grid we get our power from in order to reverse climate change as well as promote the health of our planet. Hi, I'm David Munson Jr., and I'm blessed to share the positive climate solutions of the Get Real program, as well as share some tough truths with you. I've experienced these truths personally as a rancher on the forefront of climate change. We're going to take a deep dive analyzing the real impacts of rising CO2 levels and the critical issues involving our environment, sustainability, smart energy options, and how America can create a holistic pathway for a more prosperous future. There's a real connection between the health of the earth and the body. Just like with our bodies, no matter our level of health, it is important for the earth that we maintain constant balance. This means getting the right level of nutrients and taking full advantage of our natural resources without abusing our system. Mother Earth is crying out. No longer can we ignore the warning signals that we need to invest back into her health. We must regeneratively tend to our soils, deserts, forests, and oceans. The world is waking up to the fact that for almost 30 years now, the United Nations Conference of the Parties, or COP, climate proposals have woefully failed to create any real solutions to rising carbon dioxide levels. Remember the words of Edmund Burke, all that is needed for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing. We cannot let Western society collapse while the powers that be do nothing to win this climate crisis. So let's get real and get with the program.
Did you know that Hurricane Harvey dropped over 50 inches of rain on Houston, Texas in just 4 days? That's almost the entire amount of rainfall for Houston in a year. Did you know that the Texas Snowmageddon of 2021 killed 246 people? Over 3 times more people than Harvey did. That's why between droughts, floods, freezes, hail, hurricanes, and tornadoes, Texas ranks as the #1 threatened state for declared natural disasters, according to FEMA. That'll turn your yeehaw into yikes pretty fast, y'all. So if you don't like the weather in Texas now, just wait a minute, folks. Now back to David and the Get Real program.
The Get Real program dares to solve the most dire environmental challenges that America and the world has ever faced, and the time to act is now. Why now? Well, as the United Nations Secretary General bluntly put it, we are on a highway to climate hell with our foot on the accelerator, estimating that 20 billion tons of fertile soil are lost every year, with 135 million people to be displaced by 2045. I have personally witnessed catastrophic soil loss on my own ranch when the Red River flooded and suddenly my property was under 6 feet of water. This catastrophe forced me to close out of my cattle operations and spurred me to launch the Get Real program. I've also felt climate chaos firsthand in the Snowmageddon of 2021. Texas had record low temperatures for a week, which led to tremendous power outages, food shortages, and deaths across the state. This is why the Get Real program is about harnessing nature to dramatically increase carbon sequestration, because of effectively removing CO2 from the atmosphere is the key to sustainable impact on the real issues affecting today. Let me give you a perfect example. Did you know carbon dioxide levels go down significantly during North America's summer growing season, only to rise back up when all those summer crops are harvested and die off. This leaves the carbon that is pumped into growing plants and the soil to be broken back down into carbon dioxide. So it's critical to keep green plants growing wherever they can to keep carbon in the soil where it is badly needed. Currently, only about 3% of farmland in America grows a cover crop. Planting all farmland with cover crops would sequester most of America's carbon emissions and dramatically cut soil erosion. It is critical we take inventory and utilize all natural resources available according to a strategic plan. With millions of tons of topsoil eroding every day, there's no time to waste in making the needed changes to agricultural practices that are at the heart of rising carbon dioxide levels. The real truth is, carbon is at the heart of life on Earth. Life can exist without oxygen, but not without carbon. In our planet's history, carbon dioxide levels have fluctuated over time, as there are many ways the carbon cycle can be altered. The great news is, I believe we can alter or enhance the carbon cycle for good without having to give up oil and gas production. This is something I share in depth throughout the book, Get Real, A Positive Solution to Climate Change, and briefly in this series. Now let's look at the pillars and priorities of the Get Real program. Collaboration is key. We all need to work beyond our personal agendas and transparently with one another. We must create new convergent pathways with many experts in multiple disciplines to creatively conquer the complex challenges together. Private charity is much more effective in government funding, and it doesn't take from the poor and waste so much. Number 2, innovation is the name of the game to successfully combat climate change and give us a long-term, thriving future. We must begin collectively to think outside of the box and be full of ideas. I know I am, which is why I'll reference several of my own inventions throughout our episodes that you can find at www.fullofideas.com. Number 3, dramatically increasing holistic regenerative agricultural practices that increase soil health and carbon sequestration on farms and grasslands. Number 4, major investments towards large-scale production of biochar from dead trees and agricultural crop waste. This prevents carbon from going back into the air and creates biologically active sinks for nutrients, which currently leach into our waterways and oceans. Number 5, massive rock dust remineralization of the land and sea, for without minerals, life can't sequester carbon. Lastly, and most importantly, number 6, we must utilize smart energy options that can reduce and eventually eliminate coal use for power while further scaling up geologic natural gas and biogas power plants to replace it. This, plus other smart options, can maximize our efficiency for on-demand grid power to back up intermittent renewable sources. Better yet, we need to quit building unreliable power sources that are short-lived and can have many negative effects. See the final episode for more on that. So what size of an investment would this take? What's the bottom line on some big ideas to save the life of our planet? I believe at true scale, to get real and to actually lower carbon dioxide levels over time instead of simply slowing the rise of CO2, as many climate activists propose, would require an annual investment of approximately $200 billion for America and $1.2 trillion globally. I know that may sound like an incredibly large number, but not when it comes to saving the Earth. It seems like a small price to pay when you think of it that way. That would only amount to about 10% of what we spend on fossil fuel in order to make the world 1, carbon negative, 2, comprehensively solve the carbon dioxide issue in less than 20 years. Number 3, allow us to continue the use of essential oil and gas and develop really reliable, energy alternatives. If we adopt the positive solutions outlined in the book and this series, we can have a great future of abundance on land and sea. Imagine a world where you know the air you are breathing is getting cleaner every day. A world where diseases are slowing in diagnosis. A world where the food you taste is richer, sweeter, more nutritious, and not laced with herbicides, pesticides, or other poisons. A world where the poor can afford nutrient-dense food that sustains healthy lives. Governments, public and private companies, and charities must step up together to do their part. Since climate action is a global issue, it is going to take global-sized solutions. We don't need a big global bureaucracy, but existing positive charities like www.remineralize.org can serve as the way to do things with voluntary charitable support from all of the people who are concerned about the health of the earth and carbon dioxide. That's why over the next 7 episodes, we are going to dive into positive, doable action steps that can achieve ecosystem restoration. So let's get real together.
Get real, child.